Yeah, this is going to be an important webinar. Those of you who are serious about looking into getting into business for yourselves, and I know some of you on here are already signed up and are coming to our next training. I've recognized some of the names on here. Troy is on here, for example, and several others. So I just wanted to let you know, guys, that if you're serious about starting a business, you can learn, because we've been doing this for 23 years, as Eric said, and we have got this down to a fine science, don't we?
Absolutely. We certainly do. Patrick, I think one of the good things that we can do to start off basically any webinar is to kind of talk about what the problems are, what some of the issues are with the doctors, and what they're thinking about. And that's what we kind of started off here with this part of the introduction of medical billing and healthcare and whatever else is going on. And people are still asking, is this a viable business? I think it's viable because it's what the doctors are thinking about, and that's their money flying out of their pockets because they're not getting it.
Yeah, the cash flow inside of a doctor's office is all important. I mean, they can't do anything. They can't pay their rent. They can't buy new equipment. They can't expand. They can't hire new people. It's all based on cash flow, folks. As a CEO of a company, I can tell you that there's no problem that people can come to me with that can't be solved if there's enough cash flow. So very important, and that's what we teach you to focus on when you're out marketing to the doctors.
Patrick, the next slide we're going to talk about here, and I know that you and I have been talking about doing a future webinar on the importance of keeping doctors independent. There is a lot of talk about doctors getting bought by hospitals, becoming employees, that the independent doctor is kind of leaving. I'm going to put this next slide up here because this is an article that actually just came out just less than 6 months ago. This did come out back out in November 6th of just last year, but it's the New York City doctors struggling to stay independent in a changing industry. And this is so interesting because it talks about right here that doctors in private practice have always had a hard time to balance the demands of small business with providing the best care for their patients. But the challenges of keeping the waiting rooms open are growing and declining reimbursements from insurances. It sounds as though for us, this is a good opportunity to keep those doctors independent.
Yeah, you know, you can ask anybody. We do this at our live training workshops. Sometimes we'll ask the class, how many of you have worked around doctors or know that doctors are not the best business people in the world? And a lot of people will raise their hand, you know, because they're not. They weren't taught to be business people. They were taught to take care of human beings when they get sick. And so the doctors are struggling because they don't know how to run a business, a profitable business. And just like any other business, unless you show a profit at the end of the month, you're not going to be able to stay in business. And doctors are struggling with that right now.
Yeah, and I think from the folks that are on the call today and on the webinar with us, Patrick, and those that might be listening a little bit later, why don't you share a little bit of what we're finding about the importance of keeping doctors independent versus them having to go to, work for a hospital? Because I know that as you and I both get older, we're going to see doctors. We prefer to see doctors that are independent and not an employee of a hospital.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but every time that I go to the doctor, I want to feel like I have some sort of relationship and that the person kind of knows my health history. And that's why people choose primary care physicians most of the time for most of their medical needs. Now, if you have an emergency and you got to go to the ER or the little care now that's near you or something like that, that's different. But for my long-term health, again, I'm 68 years old, so I need somebody who is going to be around a while and that's been taking care of me for many, many years to know my history. So people are just used to that. And when you go to a hospital, of course, you never know. You're gonna always get somebody different.
Yeah, absolutely. So based upon that article we just talked about here, here's some of the challenges that these doctors are dealing with: empty waiting rooms, lost patients. I mean, folks, we talk about losing a client. The doctors lose patients all the time, and they're trying to figure out a way to keep their core business together, and a lot of people just don't think about that. Patrick, here's another one: no-shows. How often they fill up those calendars and the people just don't show up.
Yeah, that's why they overbook, which really bugs me, because sometimes they overbook and everybody shows up, right? And so you're way behind in seeing the doctor, kind of like the airlines. At least there's no brawls going on inside the doctor's waiting rooms.
Yet.
Yeah.
That we don't know if we're going to see one on Fox News sometime or one of the other news shows that find brawls that are happening in the doctor's offices. But these last two is, Patrick, the excessive write-offs of these doctors of what they're doing, and then failure to check simple insurance eligibility. These are some of the major things that our doctors are faced with in the whole revenue cycle management.
Yeah, those write-offs, by the way, folks, come from sending in a claim to an insurance company or to Medicare and getting that claim denied. That happens more often than you'd think. A lot of doctors have 30–40% rejection rates. And so what they do is they just stick that in a drawer thinking that someday they'll get back to it. Well, what happens is at the end of the year, they got a whole drawer full of rejected claims, which they basically just write off. Well, believe me, the doctors would rather have that money in their bank account than write it off on their taxes, So
one more article that I wanted to remind everybody about, and folks, we've got this in a printout. You can look at this. You can go look these up yourselves, and then stay abreast of what's going on. Go to these same websites that we get this information from. And here's another article that talks, does private practice still offer an attractive career? This, again, kind of all has to do with doctors staying independent. And here in this article, written back in October, again, just 6–7 months ago, physicians who responded to our survey are still positive about private ownership. This kind of goes contrary to what I think a lot of people are hearing, Patrick, that physicians are being bought up or going into hospitals and they're leaving their private practice. But the most telling finding is that it's not just current practice owners who are optimistic. Employed physicians see the upside to private practice careers too.
Well, we're even hearing from our licensees, Eric, many of them who've run across a doctor who got, hired by a hospital, coming back into private practice. In other words, they realized that they were just an employee. They had to work the hours the hospital required. They only got paid what the hospital thought they were worth, and so they wanted to start back in their regular practice. And what they don't realize is that once they went to work for the hospital, they lost all their patients. So guess what? They are starting from scratch as if they just graduated from medical school, trying to get back into private practice. So yes, there's a lot of struggle there going on as well.
Well, the last part of this, it says that these employed doctors, about 20% of these doctors are considering owning their own practice in the future. Here is the opportunity that I think it's missed, Patrick, in what people are thinking about when they're thinking about getting in this business, because again, it seems like the buzz is all about doctors are not being in private practice. So, right. Well, I know we want to get right directly into this whole new marketing method, and this is kind of near and dear to your heart because, I mean, part of what we're going to look at here today is actually the book that you co-author with Dr. Vicki Rackner.
Yes, folks, you can find this book on Amazon. It's out there for sale right now, but you don't have to buy the book. Since you're looking into our business, we're willing to give you a copy of this book. We have an electronic e-book version of the book that's available to you. All you need to do is get back with the person who invited you to this webinar, email them and say, I want a copy of the New Thriving Medical Practice. So are you writing that down? The New Thriving Medical Practice. You want a copy of that from the person who sent you this email. And Eric, look, the subtitle of this book actually tells the whole story here. I'm going to have to increase the size of it. Well, I'll tell you what, I have a copy of it right here somewhere.
Yeah, there you go. Just grab that copy of it.
Here it is. How to get off the hamster wheel and work smarter, not harder, generate more revenue, and enjoy greater career satisfaction in the post-Obamacare era. So you talk about being up to date. This is right in the news, folks. We don't know what's going to happen with the whole healthcare thing, but all we know is that we're post-Obamacare and we're going into something different and new. And so the doctors are worried about that. This is a book that they will want to read, and we're going to show you in the webinar today how to use this as a marketing tool. Eric's showing you on the back there, it basically lists all the different things that the doctor can find out in the book. And boy, we hit them right between the eyes on a lot of stuff, Eric. They are asking these questions amongst themselves even.
Right, and you were fortunate that I think Dr. Vicki Rackner actually found you, and then you and Dr. Rackner started talking, and then started putting together, hey, let's put a book together that's going to help both of us. So tell us a little bit of history about how you came across Dr. Rachner, and then how we blended working together with Dr. Vicki Rachner.
Yeah, Dr. Rachner was a general surgeon for over 20 years. She saw tens of thousands of patients, and at some point she decided that she wanted to help doctors in a different way, not just patients, but doctors themselves, because she was struggling as a doctor sometimes. So she decided to get into the business of consulting with doctors and being a mentor to other doctors on how they can be successful in their private practice and thrive. And so when we came up with the book, the idea, it was basically, let's write a book that teaches doctors exactly how they can thrive in today's crazy mixed up world of medicine in their own private practice and stay in private practice. That's what they want. And so we wrote the book to address that.
And you said that she's retired now, but kind of talk about what she's actually doing, because I think that'll kind of help set the tone for everything that we're going to be talking about today in the webinar.
Yeah, I'm reaching for her book here. This is her latest book that she just came out with just a couple of months ago, The Myth of the Rich Doctor. And right now, she's being invited all over the country, Eric, to speak at doctors' conventions, medical conventions, on this topic. The doctors all know that there's a myth out there about doctors being rich. And a lot of them deep down inside know that they may bring in a lot of money, but they don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to keep it. And so she's, in this book, talking about that. Well, that just raised such a huge question among doctors who heard that she had this book out, that she's been invited to come speak at various webinars and conventions about that topic.
And then we're gonna talk about how now, not only is she being asked to do that for doctors and other conventions, we're going to be able to share with you towards the end, everybody, so stick with us towards the end, about how she's actually working with our licensees doing something very similar. So this is a powerful thing of what we're going to be talking to you about. Patrick, what we did, we took some screenshots, some snapshots of the book, and these are, again, all through the book, but right at the start, we talked about, all of these no-shows and lost patients and write-offs and everything. You and Dr. Rachner actually addressed what you guys call critical cash gaps.
Yeah, in fact, before I go into the details here and some of the stuff in the book, Eric, let me just kind of back up here and tell people that this is a part of you becoming a licensee with American Business Systems. You're going to be able to use this book to help market your services to doctors. In other words, we teach you how to educate the doctors by giving them a copy of this book. You'll be able to buy this not for $24.95 like it's listed on the cover here, but only for about $4 a copy. That's our printing cost on this book, folks. You'll be able to buy these books yourself and give these out to doctors. And by educating them, they will want to find out more and have you do what we call a practice analysis in their offices. So that's how you'll use this book as a marketing tool.
Absolutely. And we're actually going to show, you actually get some of these actually in their business package, and we're going to actually show you how you even take that even further here and, again, towards the end. But again, Patrick, you kind of talk about which of these challenges are happening in your practice. And again, you and Dr. Rachner talk sort of like about the, again, I missed, I went one too far here. Hold on, let me get back. I'm driving and I can't even steer correctly. Here we go. We get to this whole part right here of the critical cash gaps that you're talking about here. I think you and Dr. Rachner really zeroed in on some of these big issues.
Yeah, and as you can see there from the bullet points, folks, what we have done in this book for doctors is boil it down to the actual things that are causing those cash gaps. In other words, what is it that's causing them not to make and keep as much money as they possibly can? Because, folks, they're just like anybody else. They work hard. They deserve to be paid what they get paid. They spend a lot of money and time going to medical school. And so when we list for them, like Eric is showing here step by step, exactly what it is that's causing the problem, they realize that they're hearing from experts, such as myself and Dr. Vicki Rachner. We are experts in this because we deal with doctors every day from coast to coast. Folks, we file claims through our licensees for thousands of doctors from coast to coast, millions of claims every day. bringing in millions of dollars in money that the doctors wouldn't see otherwise. And so we know what we're talking about, and they appreciate that when they read the book.
And the next slide I've got, and that's where I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, it kind of goes right along with these issues that are being addressed in some current events. The one that we looked at earlier, this one for, the doctors are having a hard time keeping up with the challenges. Right here, the challenge is keeping up. The waiting rooms are growing. Keeping people in the waiting rooms, and this is one of the things that the two of you addressed in that book. But also is, you mentioned earlier, Patrick, about rejections. You might want to go in a little bit more about that, but industry standards are showing about 30%. I don't know, what does that mean there?
Well, it means that once a doctor, a claim has been submitted for the doctor to the insurance company or to Medicare, that, again, they can reject that claim for a number of reasons. I mean, the smallest little error, as it says here, can trigger a rejection. Believe me, the insurance companies don't want to pay these claims, so I'm convinced, Eric, that they probably have somebody in the basement of each insurance company shredding every fifth claim that comes through, because what they want to do is keep that money in their bank account as long as they can, right? Well, every item has to be just perfect to be processed by the insurance company, whether it's Medicare or other insurers. And so that's why some medical practices have not just a 30% rejection rate, but sometimes up to 71%, as we've shown here in this one example here.
This number right here, I'm circling it right there, is unbelievable. It costs this one practice nearly $200,000. That's how does a doctor's office stay in practice?
Well, it's because they're bringing in so much money that maybe the $185,000 doesn't even ring a bell for them. Some of them are bringing in $1 million a year, so that may not mean a whole lot to some doctors, but it's another down payment on a nice car.
I would say so. At least two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is incredible. And then and to back up what you're saying here, people can go out there and check this out. The American Academy of Professional Coders says that industry-wide, basically, the average number of rejection claims for medical practice is around 34%. So you actually, in your book, kind of came down a little bit by what regular averages are.
Yeah, and folks, that's basically a third. Just imagine if you were in business for yourself in any other business, and you billed out, $100, and you only collected, maybe 66% of those. That doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint, and yet doctors will let that happen because they just think, oh, well, there's just going to be a certain number that's rejected, and I can't do anything about it. Well, we can do something about it. Folks, right. As an ABS licensee, you can show them that with our cloud-based system and our built-in clearinghouse, we can get the rejection rate less than 2%. And Eric's going to show you one of the reasons right here why we can do that.
Yeah, it all starts, here's what I'd like to everybody, I know a lot of people maybe surfing the internet. This is one of these areas where I say, just be patient with us, listen to what I'm about to say. A lot of people think, Patrick, that billing starts whenever they click this button right up here and it says bill or billing. And they take the codes from the doctor and they submit a claim. Folks, medical billing, or what we would say in light of all that, medical revenue cycle management really begins right at the start, right here at what's called eligibility request or registering a new patient. Because, Patrick, you and I both know that if the information that gets into the system, the patient demographics are not in there correctly, this is where that 30% comes from. So our system gives the doctor's office and their staff a huge advantage. They get to peek in through the insurance company to check in whether someone actually has insurance. They don't have to go outside their system. They can stay within our system, call on United Healthcare within our system, check that out, and then it comes back right here, Patrick. You can see clearly it shows now that they're active. Then, when they're active, they can create an entire patient chart by clicking that button and then being able to go and pull in the entire patient demographics, their first name, their last name, their street address, their phone number, all with one click of a button, Patrick. This is what's taking that 34% rejection rates down to 2 to 3%.
Yeah, and this can only be done, folks, through a cloud-based system like ours. In other words, you're actually billing right directly through a browser on your computer through the internet, and it's done in real time. And so when we say that we actually go and get this data from the insurance company, we are literally in real time going across the internet to the insurance company's database and pulling this data out of it. When the doctors see this demonstrated, which we do these free demos for you guys to help the doctors realize how good this system is, they are blown away, aren't they, Eric?
Absolutely. As you know, Patrick, I did 2 demos yesterday for our licensees. One with a chiropractor and another one with a specialty doctor, which was an OB doctor. So both of those doctors were very impressed with what we could do because they knew that their system couldn't do what we were just showing them. And then, you know, some of the other common causes that you and Dr. Rackner talk about. Now, this is kind of getting into that area where a lot of people kind of feel uncomfortable, and that's the whole coding part of it. But again, our system will take care of that. But here you kind of got listed a few things right here.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute, Eric, because you're right. People are concerned about the coding. They know that there's codes involved in filing insurance claims. There's a code for everything that could be possibly wrong with the human body, and there's a code for the things that the doctors can do to help that particular condition. So you've got your procedure codes and your diagnostic codes. Together, those are thousands and thousands of codes. Well, folks, they're all built into our system, as Eric just said. Mm-hmm. Every one of those codes. So you don't have to know anything about the codes. Even the doctor doesn't have to know a whole lot about them because our system can suggest the codes that the doctor should be choosing from when they're billing for this particular patient.
Yeah, no doubt. And I tell you, it takes care of what you've got listed here of billing for procedures that are not covered, inaccurate coding, undercoding. I mean, that's interesting for you got down here for many doctors. The fear of what's called overcoding or underbundling results in employees being so cautious that the claim is actually miscoded, which means that they're getting less money for what they should be getting for. That's pretty. There's where a lot of doctors are losing money and leaving money on the table.
Yeah, and the reason the doctors do that is because they're scared that Medicare is going to come in and say, oh, you coded for this, and you really should have coded for this down here, and so you overcoded. So they're scared of that, so they purposely undercode, which means they're leaving money on the table. I mean, if the doctor earned the money and really did what you said that he did, then the code should reflect that, and the doctor should get paid. Well, that only comes through a system like ours, Eric, that's smart enough to know what those codes should be.
And then the last thing I just demonstrated about pulling those patient name and last name and street address and phone number, I didn't have to type any of that in. So one of the things that both of you talk about is just the human error factor, the typos, the transposition of numbers and mistakes that happen. Those things can cause rejections. But if we're pulling it directly from the insurance company, we take the human error possibility out of that.
Yeah, I see a question here, Eric, that I think I'll address right now. It's just, and I'm going to use some generic things because they're asking about a specific area of the country, a particular city, and they're asking about the independent market size in this particular city. Is it big enough to support various claims billing competitors? Everybody's always worried about that, Eric, because there are a lot of medical billing companies out there already, of course, all over the United States that are seeking to help doctors. And somebody's worried about the competition. Now, let me give you an example. We have licensees here in the local Dallas-Fort Worth area, probably a dozen or more right here. But, Eric, we never hear from any of these licensees that they're stumbling over other licensees because there's just too much business out there. There are too many doctors, almost 1 million medical providers in the United States that are potential clients for you. And so it's hard for you to actually ever oversaturate. It'd be like oversaturating insurance agencies or something like that. There's probably 5 dozen insurance agencies opening up today in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Right. So first of all, competition is not an important thing to know other than the fact that we have a superior system and a way of marketing to the doctors that's way superior to all of your competitors out there. You will basically put all your competitors out of business. And then they go on to ask what percentage of the market is actually looking to change to a new billing company. Now, that's a tough one to answer, but folks, think about it this way. Doctors are either outsourcing their billing right now to somebody else, not you, or they're doing the billing themselves inside their own office using their own staff and their own software. Now, the question you should be asking yourself is how in the world then are our licensees from coast to coast signing up? Well, last month, Eric, over 70 doctors, just last month. Why are doctors switching? How is it that they want to enroll in our system? It's because of the way we teach our licensees to market, folks, and the fact that we have a very unique situation. We're the only company that has the billing system and the clearinghouse all in one. So that makes a huge difference. So who knows how many doctors are looking to change? I can tell you this, Eric, 70 of them changed last month, and that's because our licensees know how to go through our training to approach those doctors and show them with their own figures, from their own figures, how that they're losing money by not outsourcing to our licensees.
Well, last week we lose focus of what we're talking about here today, because I mean those are great questions, but remember, we're trying to show people how they're going to get their doctors, and we just mentioned here about the cloud-based system, and a lot of people ask Patrick, because remember, this is the book that they're going to be promoting them to get that doctor, and then because this is part of, remember, as Patrick said, this is part of your marketing campaign as you're going out there. Patrick, a lot of people start asking about cloud-based systems. Is it secure?
Well, let me first of all distinguish between what our system is, which is a cloud-based system, and there are other systems out there that are cloud-based as well, Eric. But believe it or not, there are systems that are still sold on a CD. Yes. You put it in that little drawer that pops out on your computer, and you install the software into your hard drive on your computer. Folks, there's nothing more archaic than that anywhere out there. That's the most backwards way of doing things. Today we live in a cloud-based world. Microsoft and Apple and Google and all the others, Amazon, they all have their own clouds, and that's because that's the safe place to put your data. And again, our book goes into detail about that. Again, ask your business coach, we call them, the people that you're working with that sent you the email to this webinar. Ask them for a copy of this book and read this for yourselves. We don't have time in this 1-hour webinar, of course, to read every page in the book, but Eric's just pointing out to you that there's some very valuable information in here and reasons why doctors are signing up. Yeah, by the way, the last part of that question, Eric, that I didn't address was what percentage of new independent doctors' offices are actually being opened in that particular city mentioned in the question. Again, we don't have any way of knowing that, but folks, there are databases out there available through mailing houses, for example, mailing list companies that would show you the growth in any particular area. So just do a little Googling on that, and you can find that out from even probably Google themselves.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And folks, I mean, just ask any of us as business coaches. We've been through the training ourselves. We kind of know some of the tips and tricks and secrets about how to actually look for kind of stuff like that. So feel free to get in touch with us. So folks, what we're presenting to you today is not only the book of explaining, but marrying the book with the solutions that you're going to have here at American Business Systems through this one encompassing piece of technology. It is the best thing, Patrick, we've ever seen, because again, it's not trying to put 3 or 4 pieces together and hope that they work together. Right. This is one technology solution for the doctor and for the medical billing company.
Yeah, Eric, as you know, through our growth as a company, we went through some of that ourselves, trying to work with companies behind the scenes that would cobble together the pieces that you see here on the screen. And folks, now we have a system that has all of this integrated, all written by the same programmers inside the same building. In other words, the iClaim practice management system, of course, is what you'll use to actually do the billing for the doctor. The EMRX that you see on the right there, that's what the doctor will use when they're actually interfacing with the patients to put the data in using an iPad, for example. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have our own built-in clearinghouse. That's very unique. It does this claim scrubbing and submissions to all the different payers that are out there and gets the rejection rate down to less than 2%. And then, Eric, patient portal. This thing has things in it that I didn't even know it would do.
Well, the great thing is that a lot of people are getting into what's called telemedicine, and this is allowing the doctor and the patient to have a virtual visit with each other.
Yeah, basically what you and I are doing right here, Eric, if you were
Yes.
the doctor and I was the patient, we're actually able to, through our system, through the patient portal, the patient can set up appointments with their doctor to do telemedicine. Folks, this is the future because there's a lot of times when you don't need to go to the doctor, you can actually just sit in front of the doctor through technology like this and just answer questions. You can even show, I guess, here's a wound on my hand, doctor. This is what it looks like. Yeah, it's great stuff. And of course, the patient can also go in and make their own appointments. They can see their history. All of their medical history is in here. All of their appointments, all their medications, all their prescriptions, it's all stored right there in the patient portal.
Real quickly before we move off of this, Susan's got a great technical question, so folks, just bear with us. She's asking, does your software support MIPS and MACRA? Susan, this is the leading one that actually has all of the dashboards for MACRA and MIPS. 100%. Get with your business coach. They can explain a little bit more about that, but absolutely yes. I did skip that one from Spencer. Spencer, you asked, I had a medical billing professional tell me that billing is different in every state. Is this true? If so, would ABS experience growth pains in a new state?
No, it's...
Go ahead, Patrick.
The billing system in the United States is the same in all 50 states, folks. So no, we would never have a problem with that. In fact, we probably got some claims coming through in every state in the United States. It's all based on the same form, what they call the CMS 1500 form. It's a standardized form that our system is built around, as Eric showed you earlier.
Yep. Getting back to the book, there's some things here that, again, doctors are troubled with, and that is the patients paying them, or slow pays, or no pay patients. And then,
yes.
And then what we were going to say, I'm sorry, as I'm trying to clear my throat there, we've got a solution for that with choice pay. And so what we're trying to marry here, again, is the fact that Patrick and Dr. Rackner have talked about these things in the book, which now, as a licensee, you can actually bring those solutions to.
Yeah, because, folks, all of the ancillary services that we're going to be talking about here today, they all come as a part of your package. Now, you don't have to offer any of these, of course, to the doctor. You might just want to just do their billing, and that's it. But to have these extra services that you can offer that takes care of things like reducing the patient bad debt that's out there, people don't realize, Eric, doctors only collect about 50% of all the money that's billed to the patients.
Right.
And so we can show them how to increase that up to 98%.
Yeah, and again, the choice pay is just another one of the online services that we have. Same thing with Quick Collect. Again, it's just one of those where it's just a helpfulness for the doctor. And again, things that are detailed in the book that Patrick and Dr. Rackner have written, again, obviously they go hand in hand with every single one of the solutions that we have here at ABS.
Right. Hey, here's an interesting question from Donald. He says, okay, so here's what I want to see in a seminar about how to start a healthcare business. I want to see a 30, 60, 90, and 120-day plan. So, Donald, I'm sorry that we don't have that today for you on this particular webinar. We have done some webinars where we do show people that we do have a QuickStart program. During our live training workshop, we take the last day there to go over exactly what a person needs to do to lay out their plan of success, starting with what you do on day 1, what were you doing on day 30, day 60, day 90, day 120. Yeah. And so we'll show you exactly how to do that. Again, it goes back to the live training. Now, Donald, that's why we offer a lifetime, a live 100% full money-back guarantee. At the end of the live training workshop, if for some reason you don't think we gave you what you needed, you can ask for all your money back. So I don't know how to get any better than that.
Of course, and I think Don knows about that. I've worked with Don there, so it's a great question. And Don, that is exactly how it's laid out there in the training class. Patrick, we're looking at the time here. We've got about 20 more minutes, but we've talked about some of the components that are actually in the book. Now let's talk about what's actually on the outside cover of the book.
Yeah, now folks, if you look carefully there at the graphic that Eric has on the screen, you'll see that right below my name and Dr. Vicki Ragner's name, you'll see it says forward by Susan Smith. Now that's just a fake name we stuck on there to show you how this works. And it has 4 letters after her name, CMRM. That's the certification that you'll get after you go through our live training. You're certified as a certified medical revenue manager. And so you'll be able to put that after your name. And yes, your name can be right here instead of Susan Smith's. And not only on the cover of the book, but on the title page as well. Right inside the book there, your name will be there. And then after the forward, which, by the way, we've already written one that you could use if you like what we've written, you can actually put your contact information, your name, your phone number, your email address, your website, whatever contact information you want. Now imagine, folks, being a co-author in the book with Dr. Vicki Ragner and myself. Having your name in this book, folks, is invaluable. And this is all a part of your package. You're going to get some of these books with your name printed right on the cover as a part of your package. And then you can reorder them anytime you want, again, for our printing cost.
This is probably, in the 9 years that I've been around you, we've done some incredible things. This has to be one of the top things I think that we've ever done for our licensees in the side of working and getting new marketing tools out there for them. We're seeing licensees getting this into the doctor's hands, and I'm going to show the next slide here. This is one of those things where you're going to learn in the training class of what to do. It's good that you're going to know the content because, again, if you remember, Patrick is offering everybody that's on the webinar today a copy, a complimentary copy in an ebook format. Just get with your business coach and we'll get that to you. But then you're going to get this with your name on it as part of being a licensee. Then you're going to have this attached to it. Patrick, explain what these little tabs are.
Well, during the live training workshop, we're going to go through this book, and we're going to you're going to literally mark up a copy of this book, highlighting certain passages on certain pages, and then putting the little sticky tabs there that we'll provide for you on those pages. Now, here's why. Imagine handing this book to a doctor. Now, they might take time to read it, but they probably won't. So what we've done is we've shortcutted a way to get into their heads the valuable information that we want them to read in the book. So we highlight those things that will get their attention. And folks, this works. Eric, I interviewed a licensee only about a few months back who she gave away 3 copies of this book, and within the same week, all 3 of those doctors called her up and said, you know what, I think I may have a problem. Can you come do that free practice analysis for me? So we know it works.
Yep, absolutely, every single time. Now, let's talk about the other book that you just mentioned, because this can be an addition to the book. This is where it really kind of takes off here. This is that whole launching pad of helping our licensees grow their business. The Myth of the Rich Doctor, and the doctor, what is your state of your financial health? What is the state of your financial health? This is incredible because this is where you have been able to partner with Dr. Ragner in doing some things specifically for our licensees. Now, she's already doing some things that she's a contributor with this MD Magazine contributor, but these are some pretty incredible things that we're about to display and show sometimes for the first time.
Yeah, Dr. Ragner is actually on the editorial board of the Physicians Money Digest and has a regular column there for them. So, folks, this is a very valuable tool. You'll be able to purchase these books, by the way, at our printing cost of about $5 a piece, and give these out as gifts to your prospective doctors. What a way to get some great information into the doctor's hands and open up doors for you that might not be opened otherwise. It's a great tool, and Dr. Vicki Ragner can actually appear virtually to do some webinars for you. So we'll show you how to set up these, what we call lunch and learns with a doctor's office, and show that Dr. Vicki Ragner can actually appear. You can literally take in your laptop or your iPad and set it right there in front of the staff and let her address the doctor on these types of topics. Or for some people, setting it up a larger seminar type thing at a hospital, for example. They love for people to come in with valuable information for the doctors. and you can have Dr. Vicki Rachner show up at that as well. So she does consulting for our licensees because we're partners with her. And you now have that partnership automatically by becoming an ABS licensee.
So hopefully everybody's getting the weight of what we're offering with our licensing package here and what you can be able to do. I mean, really, Patrick, the sky is the limit whenever it comes down to truly working with not only all the different services that we have, all the marketing material that we have, and then these basically really these two new things that we've talked about here, the book and the collaboration that a licensee can actually have with Dr. Vicki Rachner.
Yeah, and folks, it's hard for us in this 1-hour webinar to convey to you all the things that you do get in the live training workshop, for example. Eric, why don't you show that next slide there? Just let me talk just a moment about what goes on during this this live training workshop here in Dallas. The reason we do this live, folks, is because it is a workshop. It's hands-on. You're actually going to be participating in various exercises with the other people in the class. This is the way to learn things, right, by doing it. So we're going to get you hands-on. First of all, the first day we bring in laptops, and you'll be doing medical billing by the end of the first day. Then throughout the week we have these exercises that show you exactly what you need to do to not only market to doctors, but to explain to them all the benefits of all the different services that Eric showed just previously. So this is a real live situation where you're hearing questions by other people that you wished you had thought of, and you're getting the direct information with other people there and beginning to bond with folks who can become part of your support group too.
I tell you, Patrick, I think between the classes and kind of going back to what Don was asking, what does this whole thing look like in a, how do I get this business launched? I wish we had the time to kind of show some of that, but we do have, I believe, in some of our previous recorded webinars, I think we kind of got that somewhat listed there, but what do you do day one? How do I get out there and start marketing to doctors? I think, Patrick, maybe you could address this just real briefly. We do not teach to cold call doctors. Obviously, we can't because they're seeing patients. Can you kind of go into a little bit, the dangers of trying to cold call a doctor?
Well, first of all, they can spot, a salesperson coming up to the glass there in the doctor's office a mile away. And so I had to learn, of course, as I was going out when my wife started doing medical billing back in the late 80s, I had to learn that that's not the way to approach doctors, just trying to call on them and give them your business card, for example. So we've developed about a dozen different ways to teach you how to go out and market these services to doctors. And we try to stay away from the word sales completely, because you can't sell anything to a doctor. Now, you can point out where the pain is, just like he, when he examines you, tries to poke you and find the pain. We're going to do that with the doctor's office and find out where their financial pain is, and that's how we market to the doctors.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And even in this, what we have down here at the bottom down here where it says the physician's toolbox, there's some incredible things in there. One I've completely forgot that we had, which is what's called Compliancy Guard, which has to do with the issues that the doctors are facing in their own office about violations with HIPAA. I mean, that could be a lead-in to a discussion over a lunch table with somebody about compliancy and HIPAA issues, Patrick. I mean, nobody wants to have their chart just laying out there on the front where everybody can see what's going on with you.
That's right. And this particular service that we came up with solves that problem for the doctors, protects them from being audited from Medicare and getting in trouble because they were not following the HIPAA rules and regulations like they should.
Now, one of the last things that we can talk about here briefly, and then folks, if you've got some last-minute questions, some questions that are stuck in your mind, and because we're about to get some things wrapped up here, we want to talk about the practice analysis. So go ahead and start typing in some more of your questions, and we'll see what we can do to gather those. But one of the things that you've mentioned, Patrick, just a minute ago, is this consultative way to market, is this whole practice analysis, this whole strategy, basically is what it's all about.
Yeah, so think of it this way, folks. We're going to go into the doctor's office there. We'll show you how to get them to agree to let you do what's called a free practice analysis. We're going to ask them about 30 or 40 questions that we've come up with that gets the information that we need to go back and create an actual report that takes that practice analysis and breaks it down step by step. Now, while you're going through that, of course, you're also pointing out all the different ways that you can solve those problems and relieve the pain that you found there in the practice analysis. But this is a very professional way of coming back to the doctor on a second visit to actually make this presentation, go over the report with them, and by the end of it, believe me, you'll have them wanting you to let them get started. That's how it works.
Patrick, as we kind of wrap this up here, I'm gonna put up the 100% money back guarantee slide up here, because you mentioned that earlier to Don, and let you take a little bit, maybe a little bit better lengthy time to talk about this. And then I'm going to be looking for some questions here as we kind of get things wrapped up. I see some other questions that are coming in, but Patrick, you know, people ask, are you a franchise or are you a business opportunity, and how can you do this 100% money back guarantee?
Well, it's unheard of, Eric. To be honest with you, I don't know of any other franchise or business opportunity licensing situation like we are anywhere in America that offers this type of guarantee, folks. When I came up with this, my staff thought I'd gone bonkers. I mean, really, they didn't believe that I was going to offer this, because we let you come to our live training workshop here in Dallas, folks. And by the way, it's held. Somebody asked where it was held in Dallas. It's actually right north of the DFW airport, so it's right in between Dallas and Fort Worth. It's only about 5 minutes away from the airport. But the point is, we let you sit through that entire week. And look, this is the wording here, Eric. You can see there's no weasel words in this guarantee. It's pretty straightforward, right out of our agreement that you signed with us. It says, if at the end of the training workshop, for any reason, we should add, or no reason at all, Eric, because it can be for anything. I mean, they may think that they don't like the way your glasses fit on your eyes, or you know, whatever it is they don't like about this session. If you don't think this business is right for you, see, it's not whether it's right for anybody else. You make the decision whether it's right for you. You simply tell any of our staff members, and they'll arrange for you to receive a full refund of your license fee. Now that means, folks, every penny that you pay to us for the licensing fee, the $25,990, that can be returned to you 100%. Now, has it been taken advantage of? Yes. In the 23 years we've been in business, Eric, I can count on one hand the times that we've had to give a refund for. But that's why people should rest assured that it would be done if for some reason they don't think this is right for them. But as you can see, we've been in business for 23 years. You know, maybe less than 5 people have asked for a refund. That speaks volumes, folks, that we do have something very unique and very special.